Hey guys, tonight we were going to walk down a cobblestone street that smells faintly of cabbage and open sewage, right into the middle of the strangest block party in human history. We are heading back to a time when people didn't just worry about taxes and bad weather. They worried about their limbs moving involuntarily until they died of exhaustion. It's July. It's sweltering. And the air is thick with a panic that has absolutely nothing to do with the plague you're rethinking of. You probably won. To survive a reality check about how boring your local club nights are compared to a 16th century dance marathon where the cover charge was your actual life. We like to think we're stressed out today. But imagine being so stressed that your body decides the only logical response is to jitterbug into oblivion. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really enjoy my work here. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. I love imagining the map lighting up with all of you, scattered across the globe, safe in your non-dancing living rooms. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for a soft background, and let's start tonight's journey together. You are standing in the middle of a street that feels too narrow for the amount of heat pressing down on it. It is mid-July in the year 1518, and you are in the city of Strasbourg. It's a place that feels heavy, doesn't it? The timber-framed houses lean over you like curious giants, their upper stories jutting out to steal the sunlight, leaving the alleyway in a permanent dusty twilight. But even in the shade, you can't escape the temperature. It is a humid, sticking kind of heat, the kind that makes your shirt cling to your back the moment you step outside. You're wiping a bead of sweat from your forehead, trying to find a patch of air that doesn't smell like the tanneries down by the river or the pigs that root around in the gutters near your feet. You take a deep breath, and you taste the anxiety in the air. This isn't a happy time. The last few years have been brutal for the people living here. There have been bad harvests, forcing the price of bread so high that looking at a bakery window feels like torture. There are rumors of new sicknesses, the kind that soldiers bring back from wars, and the old sicknesses never really left. The people you see walking past, you heads down, bonnets pulled tight, rushing to get out of the sun look gaunt. They look tired. It's the kind of deep, generational exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. You can feel the tension radiating off the brickwork. Everyone is waiting for the other shoe to drop, for God to send another punishment, for the next famine, the next freeze, the next war. But today, the punishment is going to be something nobody saw coming. You lean against the rough daub-and-dwaddle wall of a house, trying to make yourself invisible. You're watching a specific door. It's a modest house, nothing special, belonging to a woman named Frau Trophia. It looks like every other house on the street. Dark wood, whitewashed plaster that's peeling a bit in the heat. A roof of clay tiles baking in the sun. It's quiet. A heavy, suffocating silence hangs over the alley. Broken only by the distant clatter of a cartwheel and the low buzz of flies investigating something unmentionable in the drainage ditch. Then the door opens. You watch as Frau Trophia steps out. She looks normal. She's wearing the standard dress of a woman of her station, a linen cap, covering her hair, a heavy skirt that seems entirely too warm for July, and a bodice that has seen better days. She doesn't have a basket for the market. She isn't holding a broom to sweep the stoop. She's empty-handed. She walks into the center of the narrow street where the sunlight manages to cut a jagged line across the dirt, and she stops. You frown, tilting your head. Is she looking for someone? She stands there for a long moment, staring at nothing. Her face is blank. It's not the face of someone who is happy or angry or even particularly focused. It's the face of someone who has simply vacated the premises. And then, without any warning, without a single note of music playing from a window or a passing minstrel, she begins to move. It starts with her shoulder, a sharp, rhythmic twitch. Then her foot slides forward, scuffing the dry earth. Then a hop. You watch, expecting her to shake out a cramp or maybe swat at a horsefly. But she doesn't stop. She spins. It's not a graceful spinet. It's not the kind of pirouette you'd see in a ballet. It's jerky, angular, almost violent. She lands hard on her heels, kicking up little puffs of dust. Her arms flail out, then tuck in, then flail out again. You glance around, checking to see if you're the only one seeing this. A neighbor, a blacksmith with soot-stained arms, pauses in his doorway. He's holding a ladle, probably interrupted from his lunch. He looks at Frau Trofia, then he looks at Yuel, through Yuand, then back at her. He looks confused. Everyone knows everyone on a street like this. If you sneeze too loud in medieval Strasbourg, 3 neighbors will bless you, and a 4th will complain about the noise before you can find a handkerchief. So seeing a respectable woman suddenly breaking it down in the middle of the street is, to put it mildly, notable. She keeps going. Left foot, right foot, spin. A rhythmic nodding of the head. Silent, which makes it terrifying. If there were music, if a lute player were strumming a jaunty tune, nearby this would be a festive moment. But the only soundtrack is the scuff-thud-scuff of her leather shoes on the packed dirt and the heavy breathing of the onlookers. You step a little closer, fascinated and horrified. You can see her face clearly now. She isn't smiling. She isn't grimacing in pain exactly, but she looks absent. Her eyes are wide, staring at a point on the horizon that you can't see. It's as if her body has been hijacked by a puppeteer who has a very vague understanding of how human joints work. Her husband comes out. You can imagine the conversation that happened inside before she left. "Where are you going, dear?" "Out." "Out where?" And now, here he is. He's a sturdy man, but he looks small in the doorway, wringing his hands. He calls her name, Trofia. Come back inside. The neighbors are looking. It's the universal plea of spouses throughout history. Please stop being weird in public. But she doesn't hear him. She spins past him, her skirt swishing heavily, almost slapping against his legs. She is locked into a groove that exists only in her own mind. You have to wonder what she's hearing. Is it a drum? A choir? Or is it just a buzzing silence that demands movement? Historians still argue whether Frau Trofia was actually the very first dancer, or just the most visible one. The spark that landed in a very dry pile of tinder. But in this moment looking at her, she feels like the only person in the world. The heat is intensifying. Must be 90 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe more. You can feel the sweat trickling down your own back, just from watching her. She's wearing layers of wool and linen. She must be boiling. You wait for her to stop, to gasp for air, to bend over with her hands on her knees and say, "Whew, okay. That was weird. Sorry about that." She doesn't. 10 minutes pass, then 20. A small crowd is gathered now. Not a mob, just the people from the immediate vicinity. Women with babies on their hips, old men leaning on canes, children peering out from behind their mothers' skirts. They're whispering, "Is she drunk? Is she mad? Is it a penance?" That last one hangs in the air. This is a deeply religious society. You're in the Holy Roman Empire, remember. Everything has a spiritual cause. If the milk sours, a demon did it. If you trip over a rock, a saint is teaching you humility. So, watching a woman dance herself into a frenzy, the natural assumption isn't neurological disorder, it's spiritual intervention. You watch her feet. They're moving in a pattern, or something close to it. It looks a bit like a folk dance, maybe a distorted version of a Morris dance or a country jig, but played at 1.5x speed. There is no joy in it. It looks like labor. Looks like she is digging a ditch with her feet. An hour goes by. Shift your weight. Your legs getting tired just from standing still. How is she doing this? Her face is slick with sweat now. Her linen cap has slipped askew, revealing damp strands of hair plastered to her forehead. Her breath is coming in ragged gasps. That sync up with her steps. But the rhythm doesn't falter. If anything, it's getting faster. Her husband has given up trying to grab her arm. The last time he tried, she spun away with such force she almost knocked him into the gutter. He's sitting on the front step now, head in his hands, looking like a man who knows his reputation is dissolving with every pirouette his wife executes. You feel a strange urge to intervene, to step into the circle and say, "Hey, maybe take 5. Hydrate." But you know you can't. You're just a ghost in this history. You can only watch. The sun begins to dip lower in the sky. The shadows of the timber houses stretch out, long and distorted, reaching across the street to touch Frau Trofia's dancing figure. The light turns golden, that beautiful, hazy, golden hour that photographers love. But here it just illuminates the dust clouds kicking up around her ankles. Her shoes must be wearing thin. The leather soles of the 16th century weren't exactly Nike Airs. They offered about as much shock absorption as a piece of cardboard. Her feet must be screaming. Mainstream historical facts tell us that Strasbourg was a free imperial city, which meant it had a lot of autonomy, sort of like a medieval city-state with its own rules. But right now, looking at this woman, you realize that political freedom doesn't mean much when you're a prisoner of your own nervous system. The magistrates and the bishop run this town, but they have no jurisdiction over whatever is happening in Frau Trofia's brain. It's getting darker. The neighbors are starting to drift away, mostly because they have to make dinner. The spectacle has worn off a bit, replaced by a sort of awkward pity. It's like watching someone have a breakdown in a grocery store. At first you look, but eventually you just want to give them privacy. But she doesn't stop. You stay. The twilight deepens into purple. Someone lights a torch further down the street, casting flickering orange light against the walls. The air cools down slightly, but the humidity remains. You can hear the crickets starting up, competing with the rhythmic thud-thud of the dance. She looks terrible now. In the dim light, her eyes look sunken. Her skin is pale beneath the flush of exertion. She stumbles occasionally, her knees buckling, but she catches herself every time, jerking back upright into the next step. It's agonizing to watch. You want to look away, but you can't. It's the sheer endurance of it that baffles you. Think about the last time you went for a run or danced at a wedding. After an hour, you're done. After 2, you're sore. She has been going for 4, maybe 5 hours. Her husband has gone inside, presumably to pray or to hide. The door is shut. She's alone in the street. Well, almost alone, you're there. And a few others are still watching from windows, faces half hidden by shutters. They're scared now. In the daylight, it was weird. At night, it's ominous. The Dark Ages, though historians hate that term, are dark for a reason. Nighttime is when the bad things come out. And a woman dancing silently in the dark is definitely in the bad things category. You notice something else too? A detail that's easy to miss? Her shoes are starting to bleed. It's not the leather her feet. Dark spots are appearing on the light-colored dust where she steps. She's worn through the skin. But the pain doesn't seem to register. It's like the signal from her feet is getting lost on the way to her brain, intercepted by the overwhelming command to move. It reminds you of those stories about mothers lifting cars off their babies' hysterical strength. But this is hysterical stamina, and it's serving no purpose. She isn't saving anyone. She's just burning herself alive, calorie by calorie. The moon comes up. It's a sliver, offering barely any light. The street is a tunnel of blackness, save for the faint glow from the windows. You can hear her breathing from across the street now. It sounds like a rattle. It's a wet, unhealthy sound. Her chest is heaving. She must be severely dehydrated. You wonder if she's hallucinating. Is she dancing with angels? Or is she dancing away from devils? You lean your head back against the wall, feeling the rough texture of the plaster. The city of Strasbourg sleeps around you. Cathedral spire, that massive, impossible tower of pink sandstone that dominates the skyline, watches over the city like a stone sentinel. It's seen wars, fires, and floods, but it has never seen this. You drift in a half-doze, lulled by the repetitive sound of her movement. It's hypnotic in the worst way. It's the rhythm of madness. When the sky begins to turn gray with the approach of dawn, you jerk awake. The birds are starting to chirp, those annoying, cheerful morning birds that sound entirely too happy. You look at the spot in the street. She is still there. She has collapsed a few times, judging by the dirt on the side of her dress and her face, but she is back on her feet. She is swaying more than dancing now. A grotesque parody of the motion she started yesterday. Her head lolls on her neck. She looks like a marionette with half its strings cut. But the feet keep moving. Shuffle, stomp, drag. You realize, with a sinking feeling in your gut, that she isn't going to stop. Not today. And the terrifying thought hits you. What if she can't stop? What if the off switch is broken? Neighbors are waking up. Shutters are opening. The baker is heading to his ovens. They stop and stare. The novelty is gone. Now it's a crisis. You see people crossing themselves as they pass her. They give her a wide berth, hugging the walls as if the dancing is contagious. As if looking at her too long might make your own toes start to tap. And here's the strange thing about human nature. We are herd animals. We see someone looking at the sky. We look at the sky. We see someone running. We get the urge to run. You feel a twitch in your own leg, just a muscle spasm from standing all night, surely. But in the context of this alleyway, under the gaze of a woman who has danced through the darkness, it feels dangerous. Frau Trophia is just one woman in a small street. But she is about to become a patient zero. The heat is rising again with the sun. The smell of the city is waking up. And the rhythm she has carved into the dirt is about to get a lot louder. You watch as her husband comes out again. Looks like he hasn't slept either. He has a jug of water. He tries to get near her, to pour some into her mouth. She knocks it away with a flailing arm, splashing water onto the dust, creating a momentary darker mud that she immediately stomps into oblivion. She doesn't recognize him. She doesn't recognize you. She is gone, lost in the trance. You push yourself off the wall. Your body is stiff. You need to stretch, maybe walk it off. But as you turn to look down the street, you see someone else watching her. A young man, leaning out of a window across the way, is tapping his hand against the sill. Tap, 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 in time with her feet. It's probably nothing, just a nervous habit, just a reaction to the repetitive noise. But as the sun hits the street, fully illuminating the exhaustion etched into Frau Trophia's face, you get the distinct feeling that the silence of this solo performance is about to be broken. The heat of July is cooking something in the brains of the people of Strasbourg, and Frau Trophia was just the first kernel of corn to pop. You're still there, aren't you? Good, because things are about to get crowded. The sun is high again, baking the clay tiles of the roofs until they radiate heat like a pottery kiln. Frau Trophia is still moving. It's been days. Yes, days. She has collapsed from exhaustion a few times, catching a few hours of blackout sleep before her legs jerk her awake again, pulling her back upright like a cruel invisible string. She looks less like a person now, and more like a scarecrow caught in a gale. Her dress is torn, her shoes are gone, replaced by bloody wrappings that compassionate neighbors tried to tie on her feet while she was still moving in. Her face is a mask of pure, vacant misery. But you're not looking at her anymore. You're looking down the street. There's a woman, a neighbor you saw yesterday, carrying laundry. She's standing in the middle of the road, her basket of wet linens dumped unceremoniously in the dirt. The white shirts are getting dusty, but she doesn't care. She's swaying. At first, you think it's the heat stroke is a real killer here, but then her arms go up. Not in a stretch, but in a jerk. Her head snaps back. And suddenly, she's doing it too. She's hopping. She's twirling. No. She's joined the dance. You blink, rubbing your eyes. Is this mass hysteria? A prank? But the look on her face is identical to Trophia's. Blank, wide-eyed, terrified. And she's not the only one. By the end of the week, the street looks less like a quiet residential alley and more like a chaotic festival gone wrong. You count them. 5, then 10, then 20. It's spreading like a stain. A shopkeeper leaves his stall unattended. A maid drops her broom. A beggar throws down his bowl. They are drawn into the rhythm as if gravity is shifted, pulling them into the vortex of Frau Trophia's madness. The noise is different now. It's not just the scuffing of one pair of feet. It's a cacophony of thuds, grunts, and heavy breathing. The dust cloud is permanent, hanging in the air like a thick, choking fog. You cough, pulling your shirt up over your nose. It smells of sweat stale, desperate sweat-tanned fear. You see families trying to restrain their loved ones. A burly man has his arms wrapped around his wife, pinning her arms to her sides. She is screaming, not with words, but with incoherent animal noises. She struggles with a strength that shouldn't be possible for a woman of her size, kicking and thrashing until he loses his grip. The moment she is free, she doesn't run away. She doesn't attack him. She just starts dancing again. Spin, stomp, kick. This is the part where modern science tries to step in with explanations like ergotism, poisoning from moldy rye bread that causes hallucinations, or stress-induced psychosis. But standing here, watching a grandmother hike up her skirts to do a jig while tears stream down her face, moldy bread feels like a weak explanation. This feels primal. This feels like the city itself is vibrating, and these people are just the tuning forks picking up the frequency. The chaos is spilling out of the alley now. The narrow street can't contain them. Dancers are drifting. A writhing mass of humanity moving toward the wider squares. Follow them, staying close to the walls to avoid getting kicked by a flailing leg. You pass a group of priests. They are huddled together, clutching their rosaries so tight their knuckles are white. They look terrified. In their worldview, there are only two options here: God or the devil. And this doesn't look like God's work. There is no grace in it. It's ugly. It's distorted. Therefore, it must be the other guy. You can hear them muttering prayers of exorcism, splashing holy water toward the dancers. The water hits the dusty faces, creating streaks of mud, but it doesn't stop the feet. If anything, the dancers seem to speed up, as if the holy water sizzles on their skin. You notice the variety of people. It's not just the poor. You see a merchant in fine velvet, his expensive doublet stained with sweat, dancing next to a peasant in rags. The social hierarchy of Strasbourg, usually so rigid you could crack a tooth on it, has dissolved. Here in the dance, everyone is equal. Everyone is equally trapped. There's a mainstream historical fact you should know. Medieval people were obsessed with the dance of death or danse macabre. You've seen the woodcut skeletons leading popes, kings, and peasants to the grave. It was an allegory, a reminder that death comes for everyone. But watching this, you realize the allegory has become literal. They are dancing toward death, quite literally, and it's loud. You didn't expect the grunting, 30 people exerting themselves to the limit, The sound of human effort is deafening. It's a chorus of gasps, wheezes, and cries of pain. Shin splints, stress fractures, torn ligaments, you can practically hear the connective tissue snapping. But the adrenaline or the trance masks the pain just enough to keep them moving. You watch a young boy, maybe 12 years old. He looks exhausted. His head is lolling, his eyes are rolled back in his head so only the whites show. He stumbles, falling hard onto his knees. You flinch, expecting him to stay down. But his legs keep twitching, scrabbling against the cobblestones like a crushed insect, until he forces himself back up. It's horrifying. It's the stuff of nightmares. And the crowd of spectators is growing too. But they aren't jeering anymore. They are silent, pressed against the buildings, watching with a mixture of awe and horror. Some are crying, some are praying, some are just staring, paralyzed by the sheer impossibility of what they are seeing. You feel a hand on your arm. You jump. It's an old woman, her face a map of wrinkles. She points a shaking finger at the dancers. "Saint Vitus," she whispers. "It is the curse of Saint Vitus." Saint Vitus, the patron saint of dancers and epileptics. In the medieval mind, saints weren't just benevolent protectors. They were powerful, sometimes vengeful entities. If you angered Saint Vitus, he could make you dance. It's a convenient explanation. It gives a name to the terror. Saint Vitus dance. The crowd is moving into the horse market now, a larger open space. The dust is even worse here. The sun beats down on the open square with no mercy. There is no shade. The dancers are exposed, cooking in their own clothes. You see a man collapse. He hits the ground face first and doesn't move. The dancers around him don't stop. They don't even look down. They just dance around his body, stepping over his motionless legs as if he were a log or a rock. Is he dead? You can't tell from here. But you suspect he won't be the last one to fall. You're sweating just watching them. You feel a strange pressure in your own chest, a tightness. It's empathy, sure, but it's also fear. Is it catchy? Is it airborne? If you breathe in too much of their dust, will you start tapping your foot? You find yourself consciously holding your body still, locking your knees, crossing your arms. You are fighting the urge to join in, not because you want to, but because the rhythm is so pervasive it feels like a heartbeat. Historians debate the numbers. Some say it was 50 people in the first week, some say 100. But standing here in the square, counting the bobbing heads is impossible. It's a sea of motion. Looks like a riot, but a riot where no one is fighting, only struggling against themselves. You notice the smell has changed. It's not just sweat anymore, it's urine. They aren't stopping for bathroom breaks. They are so lost in the trance that basic bodily functions are just happening while they move. It adds a layer of abject humiliation to the scene. These are proud people craftsmen, mothers, fathers reduced to soiled, twitching wrecks in the public square. And yet there is something oddly synchronized about it now. They aren't dancing together. There are no partners, but the rhythm has unified. Thump, thump. It's the beat of a drum that isn't there. It pulses through the ground, vibrating up through your shoes. You look up at the windows of the guild hall overlooking the square. The shutters are thrown open. Men in expensive robes and hats are looking down, their faces pale. The city council. The 21. They run the city. They handle taxes, defense, trade disputes. They're practical men, used to problems that can be solved with a signature or a sword. But looking at their faces, you can see they are completely out of their depth. How do you legislate against dancing? Do you arrest them? The jail cells are small. And how do you handcuff someone whose arms won't stop flailing? Do you find them? They aren't listening. You can see the argument starting in the window. One councilman is gesturing wildly, pointing at the sky, probably arguing for a religious procession. Another is shaking his head, pointing at the ground, maybe suggesting they cordon off the area. They look small up there, powerless. The city's order is crumbling, dissolved by the chaotic energy of the dance. The sun begins to set again, casting the square in long, dramatic shadows. The dancers look like silhouettes now, a writhing black mass against the orange sky. The energy hasn't dipped. If anything, the cooling air has given them a second wind. The groans have turned into a low, continuous moan that sounds like the wind howling through a canyon. You walk to the edge of the square, needing to get away from the noise, the smell, the visual assault of it all. You find a water trough and splash your face. The water is warm and dirty, but it feels grounding. You look at your reflection. You look tired. You look like you've been watching a slow-motion train wreck for days, because you have. Gosh. You wipe your face, you hear a sound that chills your blood. A laugh. Not a happy laugh. A high-pitched, hysterical giggle coming from the edge of the crowd. You turn. A young girl, maybe 16, is standing there watching her mother dance. The girl is shaking. Her hands are clamped over her mouth. Then she drops her hands. Her face twists, and she steps forward. 1 step, 2 steps. She joins the circle. The contagion isn't slowing down. It's accelerating. It's feeding on the fear and the fascination of the onlookers. It's a psychological black hole, sucking the sanity out of Strasbourg, one citizen at a time. You realize then that this isn't just a medical anomaly. It's a social collapse. The bonds that hold a community together, shared rules, shared inhibitions, have snapped. The dancing plague isn't just about dancing. It's about the terrifying fragility of the human mind. You retreat further into the shadows, wrapping your arms around yourself. The night is coming, and with it, the knowledge that tomorrow will likely be worse. The council is going to have to do something. You can't just watch their tax base dance itself to death. But what? As the moon rises, you hear the distant sound of the cathedral bells tolling the hour. They sound mournful. They are tolling for the living, not the dead. Not yet. But the line between the two is getting blurrier with every beat. You are now standing inside the cool stone interior of the Strasbourg Guildhall. The noise of the dancing outside is muffled here, reduced to a dull, rhythmic thrumming against the thick walls, like a heartbeat the city can't suppress. It's a welcome relief from the heat and the dust, but the tension in this room is sharp enough to cut glass. You're looking at the Council of 21. These are the big wigs, the movers and shakers, the men who decide if the price of grain goes up or down. They are sitting around a massive oak table that looks like it weighs more than a warhorse. They are wearing heavy robes, velvet, fur trim, big hats. They look impressive, they look powerful. And right now, they look absolutely panicked. They are shouting over each other. It is a curse. One man slams his fist on the table. He has a beard that looks like a bird's nest. We must repent. The bishop must lead a procession immediately. Rubbish, counters another. A man with a sharp nose and ink-stained fingers. It is a sickness of the blood. Look at the heat. Their brains are boiling in their skulls. You lean against a tapestry depicting a hunting scene, feeling like an intruder in a room where history is being badly managed. This is the crisis management team of 1518, and frankly, they are failing. They are caught between two worlds, the medieval world of demons and curses, and the early modern world of medicine and science. And neither world has a handbook for mass psychogenic illness manifesting as uncontrollable rave. The man at the head of the table, the amaster, the chief magistrate, rubs his temples. He looks exhausted. We cannot arrest them all, he mutters. The jail is full of debtors and thieves. Where would we put 50 mad dancers and who would feed them? It's a practical problem. It's a bureaucracy of the cities designed for predictable crimes, theft, murder, tax evasion. It is not designed for citizens who are aggressively pirouetting in the public square. A scribe in the corner is frantically taking notes, his quill scratching loudly on the parchment. You glance over his shoulder. He's writing down suggestions. Exorcism is written and then crossed out. Witchcraft. There's a question mark next to it. Bad air is underlined twice. This is the miasma theory in action. A mainstream historical fact is that before germ theory, people believed diseases were caused by bad air or miasma. The stench of the city, the heat, the alignment of the planet Sol, of these were suspects. And honestly, given the smell coming off the river today, you can't blame them for thinking the air is poisonous. The guilds are complaining, says a portly man representing the merchants. Work has stopped. Apprentices are running off to watch the spectacle. Deliveries are blocked by the crowds. This is bad for business. Ah, there it is. The universal language. Money. The dancing isn't just a tragedy. It's an economic disruption. That's what will force their hand. They can ignore a few crazy people, but they can't ignore a drop in productivity. We need the physicians, the Amister decides, sitting up straighter. Summon the College of Physicians and the astrologers. Let the men of science tell us what this is. You watch as a messenger bows and sprints out of the room. You have to admire their faith in experts. In 2024, we Google our symptoms. In 1518, you call a guy who thinks your liver is controlled by Jupiter. While they wait, the debate turns to the nature of the affliction. Is it chorea listiva? That's the fancy Latin term they're throwing around. It implies a sinful, lustful urge to dance. Is it demonic possession? If so, why are the dancers screaming for help? Demons usually enjoy the chaos. These people look miserable. The doors bang open. Experts have arrived. The physicians of Strasbourg sweep in. They look serious. They are carrying urine jars because uroscopy was the MRI of the day, and thick books written by Galen and Avicenna. They look at the council with that specific mix of arrogance and confusion that only doctors with no actual cure can master. We have observed the afflicted, the lead physician announces. A tall man with a severe hat. Their pulses are racing. Their skin is hot and dry. Their eyes are wild. Yes, we can see that from the window. The sharp-nosed councilman snaps. But what is the cause? The physician clears his throat. It is an overheating of the blood, he declares. The humors are imbalanced. There is too much hot blood rushing to the brain, causing a frenzy of the nerves. Humoral theory. The body has 4 humors: blood, phlegm, yellow, bile, black bile. Health is a balance. Sickness is an imbalance. In the sweltering heat of July, it makes a twisted kind of sense to them. The heat outside has cooked the blood inside. Not the cure, the Meister asks, leaning forward. Here is the moment. This is the pivotal decision. You want to scream? Hydration? Rest. Sedatives. But you are silent. You watch the physician stroke his beard, thinking. He consults with his colleagues in hushed whispers. They nod. They agree. They must sweat it out, the physician says. The room goes quiet. You blink, sweat it out. The poison is in the blood, he explains confidently. The dancing is the body's natural way of expelling the excess heat. We must not stop them. We must encourage them. We must dance until the sickness is purged from their veins. It's the worst possible advice. It's like telling a man on fire that he needs to run faster to blow out the flames. It's a fatal error born of bad science. To the council, it sounds logical. If you have a fever, you sweat it out. If you have energy, you burn it off. Are you certain? The Meister asks. It is the only way, the physician insists. If we stop them now, the hot blood will settle in their hearts and kill them instantly. They must dance the disease away. The council nods. Relief washes over the room. They have a plan. It's not a curse. It's a medical condition with a treatment plan. And the treatment is more dancing. Then we shall help them, the Amister declares. We'll provide a space. We'll provide music to keep the rhythm steady, to help them purge the humors more efficiently. Music. They are going to add music. You feel a knot form in your stomach. You know where this leads? You've seen the outline. They're about to turn a tragedy into a spectacle. They're about to build a stage for the dying. The meeting breaks up. The councilmen look purposeful now. They have orders to give. Carpenters need to be hired. Musicians need to be summoned. The guild hall buzzes with activity. You walk over to the window and look down at the square. The dancers are still there, a knot of misery in the dust. From this height, they look like insects trapped in a jar. You wonder if they know that their government has just decided to help them by pushing them harder. Historians still argue whether the council was genuinely trying to help, or if there was a cynical element to it, moving the nuisance to a designated area to clean up the streets. But watching the earnest faces of the physicians, you suspect it's worse than cynicism. It's sincere, confident incompetence. They truly believe that dancing is the cure for dancing. The sun is setting again. The shadows in the guild hall lengthen, turning the tapestries into dark looming shapes. You can hear the scratching of the quill again. The scribe is writing the official decree, ordinance, concerning the dancers. It is hereby resolved that no impediment shall be placed in their way. You want to reach out and knock the inkwell over? You want to tear up the parchment? But the ink dries fast. The seal is pressed into the hot wax. Decision is made. You walk out of the guild hall, back into the heat. The air feels heavier now, burdened with the weight of the coming mistake. You pass a carpenter who is already measuring wood, whistling a tune. He looks happy to have the work. Big job, you want to ask? He'd say. Platform for the dancers. Council says they need good footing. Good footing. For people whose feet are bleeding, you wander back toward the square. The crowd has thinned out for dinner, but the core group of dancers is still going. They look like zombies now. Their eyes are hollow. Their skin is gray. But they keep moving. You see Frau Trophia. She's still there. She looks incredibly small. Her head is bowed, her chin resting on her chest, but her legs are still churning. She must be in agony. Her muscles must be tearing themselves apart, but the hot blood hasn't left her yet, according to the doctors, so she must continue. A priest walks by you, shaking his head. They are damned, he mutters to no one. It is the devil's work. Ironically, the priest might be closer to the truth than the doctors, in a metaphorical sense. This is a hell of their own making, but the council has chosen the path of science, flawed, medieval science. That choice is going to turn the volume up to 11. Find a spot to sit on a stone bench. The stone is still warm from the day. Close your eyes for a second, listening to the rhythm. Thump, thump, thump. It's the sound of a clock ticking down. Tomorrow, the carpenters will start hammering. Tomorrow, the music will start. You will be there to watch the cure become the killer. The morning sun hits you like a physical blow. You've barely slept on that stone bench, dozing in fits and starts between the rhythmic screaming and the thudding of feet. You stretch, your back cracking in 3 different places, and blink the grit out of your eyes. The scene before you has changed. Yesterday, it was a chaotic mosh pit of confusion. Today, it has the air of a grimly organized field hospital. The experts have arrived in the square. City Council didn't just sign a piece of paper and go to bed. They mobilized the intellectual elite of Strasbourg. You see men in long, heavy robes navigating the crowd of dancers like traffic wardens in a hurricane. These are the physicians you saw in the Guildhall, but now they are joined by men carrying scrolls, brass instruments, and looks of profound self-importance. The astrologers. You stand up and drift closer to a group gathered around a particularly frantic dancer, a miller, judging by the flour still dusted in his beard. He is bouncing on one leg, his other leg kicking out in a repetitive, violent spasm. Two physicians are observing him closely, not with sympathy, but with academic curiosity. One is holding a flask of urine up to the sunlight, squinting at the sediment. Because in 1518, if your leg won't stop moving, the answer is definitely in your pee. Observe the turbidity, the doctor says, gesturing with the flask. The bile is clearly agitated. A man next to him, holding a brass astrolabe, shakes his head. It is not just the bile, good doctor. Look at the sky. You look up. It's just a blue sky, aggressively bright. But the astrologer sees something else. We are in the dies caniculars, he announces, pointing a long, bony finger upward. He's talking about the rising of Sirius, the dog star. It's a mainstream historical fact that medieval people believed the heat of the dog star combined, or the sun, to boil the fluids in the human body. It was a time of bad luck, madness, and unbridled passion. The conjunction of the planets is unfavorable. The astrologer continues, unrolling a chart that looks like a geometric nightmare. Mars is agitated. The heat is drawing the choleric humors to the surface. It is a cosmic inevitability. You want to interrupt? You want to say, hey, maybe it's the starvation, or the stress of living in a time where a minor cut can kill you? But you keep your mouth shut. You are just a tourist in this catastrophe. The tragedy of what happens next is hard to watch. If the council had decided this was a curse, they would be praying. Prayer is passive. But they decided it was a medical condition, and medical conditions require treatment. And the treatment is motion. You watch as a young woman, her face gray with fatigue, starts to slow down. Her knees buckle. She's about to collapse, which is exactly what she needs. Her body is screaming for rest. She is about to hit the ground and maybe, just maybe, sleep. But a physician steps forward. Do not let her stop, he barks at her family, who are hovering nearby with terrified expressions. The venom is still in her blood. If she stops now, the heat will congeal in her heart and she will die. The family panics. Father and brother grab the woman by her arms. She is sobbing, her head lolling back, her legs dragging in the dirt. Move, Greta, move, father pleads, hoisting her up. They drag her. They force her feet to shuffle. They are literally killing her with kindness. You see the father's face. He thinks he is saving his daughter's life. He trusts the man in the velvet robe. He trusts the science. And so he forces his exhausted, weeping child to continue the dance that is destroying her. This is the fatal medical error. By prescribing more motion to burn off the sickness, the doctors have turned a self-limiting hysteria into a death march. They have removed the body's natural safety mechanism, collapse. You turn away, feeling sick. It's a level of irony that hurts to witness. The cure is the poison. You wander through the crowd, dodging flailing limbs. The square is becoming a bizarre mix of a triage center and a dance hall. You see servants running back and forth with jugs of water not for drinking, but to splash on the dancers' faces to wake them up so they can keep moving. Keep the rhythm, a doctor shouts, clapping his hands. Expel the humors. It's surreal. In any other context, a doctor clapping his hands at a patient would be grounds for malpractice. Here, it's state-of-the-art care. You notice something odd near the fountain. A group of onlookers is buying small amulets from an opportunistic peddler. They are little pieces of parchment with scribbled Latin verses. meant to be worn around the neck to ward off the dancing venom. It's a reminder that while the council is betting on science, the people are hedging their bets with magic. Get your St. Vitus protection, the peddler whispers.
Ass.
Don't let the devils take your feet. Historians still argue whether the dancing plague was a result of ergotism, a mold on rye bread that causes convulsions, or a mass psychogenic illness triggered by extreme stress. Looking at the peddler, you can see the stress argument winning. The fear in the air is palpable. Everyone is terrified that they are next. If you feel a twitch in your calf, is it a cramp or is it the start? The physicians are now debating the specific type of motion required. She needs to leap higher, one suggests, observing a heavy-set matron. The gravity helps dislodge the black bile. No, another argues. Spinning is better. Separates the fluids like a churn. They are improvising. You can tell. They have no idea what they are doing, but they are doing it with total confidence. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect in medieval robes. The noise level is rising. And the dancers are groaning more loudly now. It's a sound of pure physical distress. You see a man whose feet are wrapped in bloody rags. He is limping heavily, hopping on one foot, then the other. A doctor is walking beside him, encouraging him. Good, the doctor says. The pain means the blockage is clearing. No, you want to scream. The pain means his metatarsals are fracturing. You see a priest on the edge of the square, watching the doctors with deep suspicion. The church and the medical establishment have an uneasy truce here. The priest thinks this is a spiritual issue. The doctors think it's biological. But since the bishop hasn't authorized an exorcism yet, the doctors have the floor. The priest catches your eye. He looks sad. He crosses himself and walks away, perhaps realizing that there is no room for God in a square full of men measuring urine. The heat of the day is peaking. Dogstar is doing its work, if you believe the astrologers. The smell is atrocious. Sweat, waste, and the metallic temps of blood. The dust cloud is so thick, you can taste it. It grits between your teeth. You watch a new development. A family has brought a drum. It's just a small hand drum. They start beating it. Boom, boom, boom. They are trying to help their son keep time, trying to make his movements less erratic. The effect is instantaneous and terrible. The other dancers hear the beat, their brains starved of oxygen and locked in a trance, latch onto the rhythm. They start to synchronize. The chaotic flailing becomes a unified, rhythmic stomping. It's louder, it's more intense. The doctors look at each other and nod. Yes, one says. The rhythm helps the purgation. We must amplify this. You freeze. You know what this means? You remember the outline. They're going to scale this up. The square is too uneven, a councilman says, arriving to inspect the progress. He nearly trips over a dancer who has fallen and is being dragged back up by a physician. The ground is too rough. They cannot purge the disease if they are tripping. We need a smooth surface, the lead physician agrees, and more sound to drive the movement. The councilman nods. I have already spoken to the Carpenters Guild. They are ready. You look at the dancers. They're stumbling on the cobblestones. They're twisting their ankles in the ruts. A smooth surface sounds like a kindness, doesn't it? A nice wooden floor. But you know it's just a way to make the machine run more efficiently. The astrologer rolls up his charts. The planets will remain in this alignment for another week, he says ominously. We must be prepared for the long haul. Another week? These people won't last another 2 days. You walk over to the edge of the square, needing a break from the madness. You find a spot of shade under an awning. A cat is sleeping there, completely unbothered by the apocalypse happening 10 feet away. You envy the cat. You watch as the doctors move to the next patient, a young boy who is weeping silently as his legs jerk. The doctor checks his pulse. Strong, he declares. He has much energy left to burn. The boy looks like he is about to die. This is the tragedy of authority. The people of Strasbourg are listening to the smartest men in the room, and the smartest men in the room are dead wrong. It's a lesson that echoes forward in time, isn't it? Just because someone is wearing a robe and holding a chart doesn't mean they know why your legs are moving. As the afternoon wears on, you hear the sound of heavy wagons approaching. You turn. They are piled high with timber. Thick raw planks of pine and oak. The smell of sawdust cuts through the stench of the square. The carpenters are here. The doctors step back, looking pleased. They have prescribed the treatment, and now the city is building the hospital bed. Except this bed is a stage, and the treatment is a marathon. You watch the first plank hit the cobblestones with a heavy clatter. The sound makes a few dancers jump, their rhythm breaking for a split second before the relentless drive of their nervous systems forces them back into the step. The Cure is about to get a major infrastructure upgrade. And you, my friend, are going to have a front row seat to the construction of the deadliest dance floor in history. The sound of the city has changed. The wet, organic sounds of panting breath and shuffling feet are now being drowned out by the sharp, rhythmic clack-clack-clack of hammers hitting iron nails. You're standing on the edge of the horse market, the Rosmarkt. Usually this place smells of horse manure and hay. Today it smells of fresh pine sawdust, a clean, sharp scent that feels startlingly out of place amidst the reek of unwashed bodies. You watch as the Strasbourg Carpenters Guild goes to work. These aren't amateurs. These are master craftsmen. They wear leather aprons and carry tools that look like they could build a cathedral or dismantle a siege engine. They move with the efficient, boring precision of men who are being paid by the hour to do a rush job. They are building a stage. It's a massive structure rising up in the center of the square. Thick oak beams are being laid down as foundations, leveled with wedges and grunts of effort. Planks of lighter wood are being nailed across the top. It looks like the kind of platform you'd use for a mystery play, or maybe a royal execution. But there are no actors and no headsmen. You walk closer, careful not to step on a stray nail. The nails are hand-forged iron, square-headed and expensive. A trivial but telling fact. In medieval construction, the iron nails often cost more than the wood. The city is sparing no expense here. They are literally nailing their budget to the floor in hopes that this platform will solve the crisis. Steady on the left. A foreman shouts, wiping sweat from his brow with a forearm the size of a ham hock. The council wants it flat. No tripping hazards. That's the logic, remember. The physicians decided that the uneven cobblestones were hindering the cure. If the dancers trip, they stop moving. They stop moving, the hot blood doesn't burn off. So, to facilitate the life-saving movement, the city is building a perfectly smooth, level dance floor. It's the most well-intentioned death trap you've ever seen. As the platform nears completion, you see the logistics of moving the dancers. It's a grim procedure. Town guard has been called in-men in half-armor with halberds, looking very uncomfortable. They aren't arresting people. They are hurting them, sway citizens. A guard grunts, using the shaft of his spear to gently nudge a woman who is spinning in tight circles. Up you go. Nice, smooth wood for you. The woman doesn't even look at him. She just spins, her momentum carrying her toward the ramp. She stumbles up the incline, her wooden shoes clattering, and then she hits the deck. The sound changes instantly. On the dirt, the dancing was a dull, scuffing noise. On the hollow wooden stage, it becomes a drum. Boom, thump, crash. The platform acts as a massive resonator box. Every stomp is amplified. Every jump echoes against the surrounding buildings. You wince. It's loud. It draws attention. This is the great irony of the stage. By elevating the dancer 6 feet into the air, the council has transformed a medical emergency into a spectator sport. People who were shopping for vegetables 3 streets over can now hear the commotion. They drift in. They look up. What is it? A baker asks you, dusting flour off his hands. It's the cure, you say, pointing. They're sweating it out. The baker watches, mesmerized. Looks like a fair, he mutters. And it does. That's the problem. Historians still argue whether the construction of the stage actually caused the plague to spread faster. It's the suggestion theory. You see, mass hysteria feeds on visibility. If you hide the afflicted in a hospital, out of sight, the panic dies down. But if you put them on a literal pedestal in the town square, you are broadcasting the signal to every stressed out, superstitious brain in the city. You watch as a man in the crowd, watching the dancers on the stage, starts to tap his foot on a crate. He's staring at a dancer who looks particularly entranced, a young apprentice tanner, his apron stained dark. The watcher's eyes glaze over. The rhythm gets into him. And before you can blink, he's climbing the ramp. He isn't being forced. He's drawn to it. The stage is a magnet. The carpenters are packing up their tools now. They look satisfied. The job is done. The platform is sturdy. It holds the weight of 50, maybe 60 people now, all jumping and stomping in disjointed unison. The structure groans and creaks, but it holds. German engineering, right? Even in 1518, it's reliable. You lean against one of the support beams, feeling the vibrations travel down into the earth. It feels like the ground is shivering. Above you, the scene is deteriorating. The smooth wood is indeed easier to dance on, but it's also harder. It has no give. The shock of impact travels straight up the shin bones. You can see the dancers' faces grimacing as their feet slap against the planks. The blood from their feet is now staining the fresh, pale wood, creating macabre abstract patterns that look disturbingly like the ink blots from a Rorschach test. And the heat. You can't forget the heat. Being up on the stage puts them closer to the sun, away from the cooling shadows of the alleyways. There is no shade on the platform. They are baking on a griddle. You notice the city council members have returned to inspect their investment. They stand at a safe distance, nodding gravely. Much better, one says, shielding his eyes from the sun. See how freely they move now? The obstruction is gone. Indeed, another replies. The humors are flowing. You want to shake them? Can't they see the blood? Can't they see that the number of dancers has doubled since the stage went up? But confirmation bias is a powerful drug. They see what they expect to see. A successful public health initiative. A mainstream historical fact worth noting is that Strasbourg was a wealthy city. They had the funds to pull this off quickly. In a poorer village, the dancers might have just been left in the mud. But here, the efficiency of the bureaucracy is actually accelerating the disaster. They have successfully optimized the catastrophe. You climb up a nearby wagon to get a better view. The perspective from above is dizzying. The stage is an island of chaos in a sea of onlookers. The crowd is dense now. Sellers are hawking water, pretzels, and those little St. Vitus amulets. It's turning into a festival of pain. You spot a familiar face in the crowd, the husband of Frau Trafia. He is staring up at the stage, searching. You follow his gaze. There she is. She's near the center, still moving. She looks like a skeleton wrapped in rags. Her eyes are closed. She is swaying more than dancing now, caught in the press of bodies, kept upright by the people bumping into her. She has been dancing for nearly a week. It defies biological logic. By all rights, her heart should have stopped days ago. Her electrolytes must be non-existent. But the trance holds her. The stage vibrates, and she vibrates with it. A carpenter walks past the wagon you're standing on, counting coins in his hand. He looks happy. It's good pay for a morning's work. Crazy business, eh? He says to you, grinning. But wood is wood. Doesn't matter to me if they dance on it or burn it. It's a chilling sentiment. It's a banality of evil lore in this case. The banality of indifference. The system works for the carpenter, even if the product is suffering. The sun is directly overhead now. No shadows. The dancers are casting no shade, just absorbing the full brutality of the July sky. You see a woman stumble near the edge of the platform. There's no railing. The council didn't think of safety rails. That would impede the view. She teeters. Her arms windmill wildly. The crowd gasps. She manages to correct herself, spinning back toward the center, crashing into a man who absorbs the impact without stopping his own jig. It was a near miss. If she had fallen, she would have dropped 6 feet onto cobblestones. You realize the stage has added a new danger: altitude. The physicians are now circling the platform, shouting instructions up at their patients. Lift the knees. One yells, "Higher, the bile is heavy." It's absurd. It's like watching a spin class conducted by people who think bicycles are powered by ghosts. You feel a headache coming on. The noise is relentless. The boom-boom of the platform is getting into your own head. You find yourself tapping your finger against the side of the wagon. You stop immediately, shoving your hand into your pocket. It's terrifying how catchy the rhythm is. Bypasses the logical brain and goes straight to the motor cortex. And then you see the next phase of the plan arriving. You hear them before you see them. A high, piercing sound that cuts through the thudding of feet. Bagpipes. And underneath that, the rattle of snare drums. The council wasn't satisfied with just a stage. They decided the dancers needed accompaniment. If the goal is to keep them moving to burn off the sickness, then professional musicians are the fuel. You watch as a troupe of musicians marches into the square. These aren't street buskers. These are guild musicians hired by the city. They look professional, wearing matching tunics. They carry bagpipes, drums, and horns. They look like they're here to play a wedding or a feast. They set up right next to the stage. The lead piper squeezes his bag, letting out a drone that sounds like a dying goose. Then he launches into a tune. It's a fast, driving melody. The effect on the stage is electric. The dancers who were flagging, who were starting to slow down from sheer exhaustion, suddenly jerk to life. The music acts like a fresh battery. Their heads snap up, their feet find the beat. The disorganized shuffling transforms into a synchronized stomp. Boom, boom, boom. The stage shakes. Dust flies up from the cracks between the planks. You stare in horror. The council has just poured gasoline on the fire. They have turned the cure into a rave. The musicians are playing with gusto, unaware, or uncaring that they are playing a funeral march. You look at the faces of the dancers. For a second, just a split second, some of them look relieved. The music gives them a structure to cling to. It organizes their madness. But then the relief fades, replaced by the grim reality that the music won't let them stop. The pipe and drum are taskmasters driving them forward, step by agonizing step. The volume is incredible. The acoustics of the square trap the sound, bouncing it off the timber houses. It's a wall of noise. The bagpipes screech, the drums rattle, and the wooden stage thunders. You slide down from the wagon, needing to feel the ground beneath your feet. The vibration is everywhere. You can feel it in your teeth. The stage is full now, completely full. And there are more people waiting at the bottom of the ramp. Eyes glazed, feet tapping, waiting for their turn to ascend to the platform of doom. The city of Strasbourg has built a machine to process the madness, but they've forgotten where the off switch is. And as the sun beats down on the fresh pine boards, you realize that this stage isn't a hospital bed. It's an altar, and the sacrifice is about to begin in earnest. The music is relentless. It is a physical presence in the square, a wall of sound that you have to push against just to walk. The bagpipes are the worst, a high, keening wail that sounds like a migraine translated into audio. And underneath it, the drums. Rat-a-tat, tat, boom. It's the heartbeat of a monster. You are standing near the musicians now. They're sweating in their guild tunics, cheeks puffed out, fingers flying over the chanter holes. They look bored. To them, this is just a gig. They are being paid by the city to play, and play they will. They switch tunes every few minutes, moving from a jig to a reel, keeping the tempo high. Keep it lively, the magistrate shouts at them, clapping his hands. Do not let the energy flag. You watch the lead drummer. He's a young guy, focused on his rhythm. He doesn't look at the stage, he stares at his drum skin. Maybe he can't bear to look. Or maybe he just wants to get the beat right. On the stage, the effect is horrifying. The dancers are locked into the music. It's a phenomenon called entrainment. The brain has natural tendency to synchronize motor movement with auditory rhythm. It's why you tap your foot to the radio. But for these people whose inhibitory control is gone, it's a compulsion.
The music drags them back. The music drags them forward. It forces tired muscles to contract.
You see a woman in the front row? She looks ancient, though she's probably only 40. Her hair is matted with sweat and dust. Dress is torn at the shoulder. She is weeping openly, tears cutting clean tracks through the grime on her face. Her mouth is moving, forming a word over and over again. You step closer, straining to hear over the pipes. She is whispering it. Help! Help! But her legs are doing a perfect high-stepping jig. It is a grotesque puppetry. Her mind is screaming for rest, but her body is enslaved by the beat. The musicians are the puppeteers, and the invisible strings are made of sound waves. You look around the crowd of spectators. They are tapping their feet too. It's insidious. The music makes the horror palatable. It turns the tragedy into a performance. People are eating apples, chatting, pointing out their neighbors on the stage. Look, there's Hans the butcher, man says, pointing with a half-eaten sausage. He's got good rhythm for a big man. Aye, his friend replies. Better than he cuts meat. They laugh. It's a dark, nervous laughter. They are normalizing the abnormal because the alternative admitting that their reality has broken. It's too terrifying. A mainstream historical fact. Music was often used as a cure for tarantism spider bite mania in Italy. The idea was to play the right tune to break the spell. But here the doctors have it backward. They aren't trying to break the spell. They're feeding it. I think they are draining the battery, but they are recharging it. You notice the musicians taking shifts. One piper steps out to drink ale. Another steps in. The music never stops. Not for a second. The continuity of care, medieval style. This means the dancers get no reprieve. No silence. No moment to collapse and stay down. The sun is dipping low again, casting the long shadows that make everything look distorted. The stage is slick now, not with rain, but with sweat. It's a hazard. You watch as a man slips. His feet go out from under him on the slick wood. He hits the deck hard. Crack. You hear the sound of bone on wood. He tries to get up, but his leg is bent at a wrong angle. Compound fracture. The music doesn't stop. The dancers around him don't stop. They dance over him. One steps on his hand, screams, a sharp, jagged sound that cuts through the drone of the pipes. Finally, 2 guards rush up the ramp. They don't stop the music. They grab the man by his arms and drag him off the stage like a sack of grain. His broken leg drags behind him, bouncing on the planks. They dump him on the ground near the edge of the square, where a makeshift aid station has been set up. You walk over to the aid station. It's a scene from a battlefield. People are lying on straw mats, groaning. Some are unconscious. Some are still twitching, their legs kicking at the air even though they are lying down. A barber surgeon is there, looking overwhelmed. He's wrapping a bandage around a woman's foot. The foot is a mess skin peeled away, toes purple and swollen. Will she be all right, you ask? Though you know the answer. The surgeon looks up, eyes rimmed with red. If the fever breaks, he says, but the music calls to them even here. He's right. Even on the ground, the patients are restless. They can still hear the drums. Their heads toss from side to side in time with the beat. The cure is following them. You go back to the stage. The energy is frantic now. It's the runner's high gone toxic. The endorphins have kicked in, masking the pain, pushing the bodies beyond their structural limits. You see a new group of musicians arriving. It's horn players. Great. More volume. The council is doubling down. If the pipes didn't work, maybe brass will do the trick. They join in. The sound swells. It's deafening now. The vibration rattles your ribcage. The historians debate why the council did this. Was it really just bad medicine, or was there a spiritual component? Music was seen as having power over the soul. Maybe they thought they could harmonically align the dancers back to sanity. It's the vibrational healing of the 16th century, just applied with zero subtlety. You watch a young couple on the stage. They aren't dancing together, but they are near each other. They look like they are in a trance state, eyes rolled back. They are holding hands now, gripping so tight their knuckles are white. It's a desperate anchor in the storm. Suddenly the tempo increases. Musicians have switched to a faster tune, a galliard. The dancers try to keep up. It's frantic. It's ugly. Arms flail. Heads snap. You feel a wave of nausea. This isn't a dance anymore. It's a seizure set to music. The night falls, but the party doesn't stop. The city has brought out torches. Big smoky iron braziers are set up around the stage. The firelight flickers on the sweaty faces, making them look demonic. The shadows jump and twist on the walls of the guild hall. It's a combination of the fire, the drums, and the writhing bodies makes the scene look exactly like a medieval depiction of hell. And you realize, with a shudder, that the church is going to have a field day with this. If this doesn't look like a witch's Sabbath, nothing does. You see a priest standing in the shadows, shaking his head. He's sketching something on a pad, a record of the damnation. They are dancing for the devil, he whispers as you pass. No, Father, you want to say. They are dancing for the city council. But the distinction is getting blurry. The smell of roasting meat wafts over from a food stall. It makes your stomach turn. How can people eat while watching this? But life goes on. The crisis has become the background noise of the city. You climb up to a balcony of an inn overlooking the square. The view is apocalyptic. The stage is a lit-up island of suffering. Musicians are silhouettes against the fire. The dancers are jerking puppets. And then you see it. The first death on the stage. It's a man in the back row. A robust-looking fellow, maybe a blacksmith. He's been going hard for hours. Suddenly he stops. He doesn't stumble, just stops. He stands perfectly still for 1 second. A statue in the chaos. Then he falls backward, stiff as a board. Thud. The dancers around him part like water around a stone, then close back in. They don't look down. The music covers the sound of his fall. You watch as the guards rush in again. They check for a pulse. One guard shakes his head. He looks up at the musicians and makes a cut-it motion across his throat. The music falters. The pipes wheeze into silence. The drums stop. For a moment, there is silence. Just the heavy, rasping breathing of 50 people. Then, a physician rushes up the ramp. "Don't stop!" he screams at the band. "You must not break the rhythm." The others will fall out of the humor. The musicians look confused. They look at the dead body. They look at the doctor. Play, the doctor commands. Play for their lives. The drummer hesitates, then hits the skin. Boom. The piper takes a breath and starts the drone again. The music resumes. The dancers, who had paused, looking confused and terrified in the sudden silence, are grabbed by the rhythm again. They start moving. They are dancing next to the corpse. You feel cold, despite the heat. This is it, the point of no return. The authorities have decided that the treatment is more important than the patient. They are sacrificing the individual to save the theory, the group. It's unclear anymore. The guards drag the body away. The show goes on. You retreat into the inn, needing a wall between you and the square. You order a drink. The ale is warm and bitter. The innkeeper looks grim. Another one? He asks, wiping a glass, as you say on the stage. He spits on the floor. Damned doctors. My grandfather had the gout. They put leeches on his eyes. Now he's blind. These people need a priest and a bed, not a piper. The common sense of the common man. It's refreshing. But it has no power. The power is out there, on the stage, conducting the orchestra of death. You sit by the window, listening. The music is muffled now, but you can still feel the beat. Thump, thump. It's the sound of a city that has lost its mind. And as you finish your ale, you know that tomorrow the death toll is going to rise. The stage isn't a cure, it's a grinder, and the hopper is full. The smell hits you first. It's a physical wall that you walk into as you approach the Rosmarkt in the morning. It's not just the smell of sweat anymore, or the open sewers of a medieval city. It's the smell of death. It's sweet, cloying, and rotten. It's the smell of bodies that are breaking down while they are still alive. Ketosis, rhabdomyolysis, gangrene. You, re-walking through a nightmare that has been baking in the July sun for over a week. The air is thick with flies. Big, iridescent blowflies that buzz lazy circles over the stage. They know. Nature always knows when something is dying. You force yourself to look at the stage. It's a gruesome sight. The wood, once fresh and pale, is now dark with stains, blood, urine, spilled water, vomit.
Ow.
The dancers are no longer recognizable as the neighbors you saw a few days ago. They look like revenants. Their clothes are in tatters, hanging off skeletal frames. Their skin is gray, pulled tight over their cheekbones. Their eyes are sunken into black pits. But the worst part is the movement. It has lost all semblance of a dance. It's just twitching now. They are stumbling, colliding, falling, and dragging themselves back up. And the heat, it is unrelenting. The dog days are living up to their reputation. The sun beats down on the square with a malice that feels personal. You see a woman collapse near the edge of the stage. She doesn't get up. The guard pokes her with his spear shaft. Nothing. He signals to the body collectors. Yes, there are body collectors now. 2 men with a cart are stationed permanently at the bottom of the ramp. They trudge up, grab the woman by her wrists and ankles, and swing her onto the cart. It's routine. It's efficient. It's horrifying. You count the bodies already on the cart? 3, and it's not even noon. A mainstream historical fact. Chroniclers of the time reported that at the height of the plague, up to 15 people were dying per day. 15 in a small city square. That's a massacre. If a soldier killed 15 people a day, he'd be a monster. Here, it's just a medical side effect. You walk closer to the stage, covering your nose with a handkerchief soaked in vinegar, a trick you learned from a plague doctor passing by. It helps, but barely. The musicians are still playing, but they look terrified now. They can see what's happening. They are playing the soundtrack to a slaughter. The drummer is missing a beat every now and then, his hands shaking. The piper looks green. They want to stop. You can see it in their eyes. But the council's orders stand. Maintain the rhythm. You spot a physician arguing with a priest near the water trough. This is murder, the priest hisses, pointing a trembling finger at the stage. You are killing them. Their souls are trapped in broken bodies. It is the crisis point, the doctor shouts back, though his voice wavers. The poison is resisting. We must push through. The sunk cost fallacy in action. They've invested so much in this theory, the stage, the musicians, the guards, that admitting they were wrong now would be catastrophic. So they double down. They push harder. You watch a man on the stage. He is young, maybe 20. He is naked from the waist up, his ribs clearly visible. His skin is bright red, sunburnt to a crisp. He is foaming at the mouth, literally foaming. A pinkish froth bubbles on his lips. He is dehydrated beyond belief. His kidneys are shutting down. Suddenly he screams. It's a high, tearing sound. He grabs his chest. His heart gives out. A massive cardiac event brought on by extreme exertion and electrolyte imbalance. He drops like a stone. The dancers around him stumble over his body. One woman trips and falls on top of him. She doesn't get up either. She just lies there, her legs twitching against his still chest. The crowd of spectators has changed too. Amusement is gone. The eating and drinking is stopped. People are silent. They look pale. They are witnessing a slow emotion tragedy, and they are beginning to realize their complicity. They watched. They tapped their feet. And now they are watching their neighbors die. You see a mother in the crowd screaming a name. Hans. Hans. She is trying to climb the ramp. A guard holds her back. Back, woman. You can't go up there, my son. She shrieks. Look at him. He's dying. She points to a boy on the stage. He is slumped against a support beam, his legs still kicking weakly. Looks like a broken doll. The guard looks at the boy, then at the mother. He lowers his pike. He looks away. He knows. But he has his orders. This is the horror of bureaucracy.
I guess.
The guard, the musician, the carpenter, they are all just doing their jobs, and the result is a pile of corpses. You move away from the stage, needing to find cleaner air. You head toward the cathedral. The cool shadow of the immense stone building offers a brief respite. Inside, it is dark and quiet. The contrast is jarring. Outside, the noise of hell. Inside, the silence of heaven. But even here, the plague is present. The pews are full. People are praying desperately. Saint Vitas, spare us, they chant. Saint Vitas, forgive us. They still think it's a saint's anger. And maybe it is. If you were a saint watching this city, wouldn't you be angry? Angry at the arrogance of the doctors? Angry at the indifference of the council? You walk back out. You can't stay away. You're the witness. The body cart is rolling away now, wheels creaking under the weight. It leaves a trail of drips in the dust. You don't want to know what the drips are. Back at the square, the situation is critical. The cure has failed spectacularly. The stage is half empty, not because people have been cured, but because they have been carted off. The remaining dancers are in the final stages of exhaustion. You see Frau Trafia? She is still alive somehow. She is a husk. She is moving in slow motion, a macabre mime. Her eyes are open, but the corneas are dry and clouded. She doesn't blink. She is dancing on pure reflex. The neural pathways are burned in so deep that her legs move even as her consciousness fades. The stench is getting worse as the heat rises. The physicians are now standing further back, holding scented pomanders to their noses. They are retreating. They know, you can see the doubt creeping into their faces. They're whispering to each other, shaking their heads. The humors are too obstinate, one mutters. Perhaps the diagnosis was incomplete, another suggests. Incomplete? You want to scream? It was wrong? You killed them? But there is no accountability in 1518. If the patient dies, it's God's will, or the severity of the disease, never the doctor's fault. The sun begins to set, turning the sky a bruised purple. The torches are not lit tonight. The city has run out of enthusiasm for the spectacle. The square is darkening. In the twilight, the scene is even more terrifying. The dancers are shadows, lurching in the gloom. The music has stopped. Musicians simply walked away. They couldn't take it anymore. The silence that follows is heavy. It's not a peaceful silence. It's a vacuum. Without the music, the sound of the feet is erratic. Thud, shuffle, scrape. Thud. It's the sound of a machine breaking down. You hear a low moaning. It's coming from the stage. A collective sound of misery. Water, water, God. It's the most human sound you've heard in days. It breaks the trance of the spectacle. These aren't demons. They aren't sinners. They're thirsty, dying people. Finally, the Meister arrives. He looks at the dark stage. He looks at the body cart returning for another load. He looks at the exhausted guards. He takes off his hat. He looks defeated. Enough, he whispers. He turns to the captain of the guard. Clear the stage. Take them down. Get them water. The order has been given. The experiment is over. You watch as the guards move in. They are gentle now. They lift the dancers up. Some are so light they seem weightless. They carry them down the ramp. They lay them on the cobblestones. They bring buckets of water. The dancers don't stop moving immediately. Their legs still twitch on the ground. But without the stage, without the music, the spell begins to fray. They drink greedily, water spilling over their cracked lips. Some vomit it back up immediately. Their stomachs too shrunken to hold it. Frau Trophia is carried down. She collapses into the arms of her husband, who has been waiting for days. He weeps, rocking her back and forth. Her feet still tap against his legs. Tap, tap, tap. A fading echo of the marathon. The stage stands empty in the center of the square. It looms like a scaffold. The bloodstains are black in the moonlight. It is a monument to a colossal mistake. You sit on the edge of the fountain, exhausted. You feel drained, as if you've danced the marathon yourself. You've watched a city try to solve a problem with logic and fail, only to replace logic with cruelty. The smell hangs in the air, clinging to your clothes. The smell of exhaustion, the smell of a city that has sweated out its soul. Tomorrow, there will be a new plan. The doctors have failed. Oh, it's the priest's turn. But for tonight, the only sound in the square is the weeping of the survivors and the soft drip-drip of water onto the dusty stones. The morning after the stage is cleared, Strasbourg wakes up with a hangover. Not from alcohol, but from shame. The empty wooden platform stands in the middle of the Rosmarkt like a gallows, silent and accusing. Bloodstains have dried to a rusty brown, mapping out the choreography of the disaster. You are standing in front of the Guildhall again. A crowd has gathered. But this isn't the curious ogling crowd of last week. This is a grim, angry crowd. They're reading a new parchment that has been nailed to the heavy oak door. You push through the elbows and the smell of unwashed wool to get a look. It's an official decree. The wax seal of the city council is fresh and red like a drop of blood. Ordinance concerning the prohibition of music and dance. It's a complete U-turn. The same men who hired the pipers and built the dance floor have now decided that music is the enemy. Strictly forbidden. A literate merchant reads aloud to the group, tracing the Gothic script with a gloved finger. No piping, no drumming, no lute playing. Not at weddings, not at funerals, not in the taverns. You scan the text. It's thorough. It bans all public displays of rhythm. It's as if they believe the very concept of a beat is a contagious pathogen. If you hum a tune in the street today, you're not just annoying, you're a public health risk. And look here, the merchant points lower down. Prohibition of loose persons and gamblers. Ah, the classic scapegoats. When the elite fail, blame the poor. The decree suggests that the dancing plague is a punishment for the city's moral laxity. The narrative has shifted overnight. Yesterday, it was overheated blood. Today, it is moral corruption. The physicians have quietly exited the back door, and the theologians have entered the front. You walk away from the Guildhall, heading into the streets to see the ban in action. It's eerie. A medieval city is usually loud. There's always someone singing, a bell ringing, a street performer juggling. But today, Strasbourg is silent. It's a forced, unnatural silence. The blacksmiths are still hammering, but they seem to be doing it without rhythm, as if afraid that a steady clank-lank-lang might set someone off. You pass a tavern. Usually this place would be spilling over with laughter and fiddle music. But today the shutters are closed. Inside, men are drinking in hushed tones. A lute hangs on the wall, gathering dust, looked at with suspicion as if it were a loaded weapon. Then you see the enforcers. The town guard is out in force. They aren't hurting dancers anymore. They are hunting musicians. You watch as a guard corners a street busker, a scruffy man with a flute. Hand it over, the guard demands. The busker clutches his instrument. It's my livelihood. It's the devil's whistle. The guard snaps, snatching the flute, snaps it in half over his knee, and throws the pieces into the gutter. It's a brutal overcorrection. The pendulum is swung from dance and out to absolute stillness. But the ban isn't just about music. It's about movement. The decree essentially criminalizes public jitteriness. You see people walking stiffly, arms pinned to their sides, terrified that a stumble or a skip might be misinterpreted. You head toward the hospital, curious about the survivors. The Hospital of the Holy Ghost is a grim place, smelling of vinegar and sickness, but inside, it's quiet. The survivors of the stage have been moved here. They're lying on straw pallets, strapped down. Yes, strapped down. The new medical approach is restraint. If they want to move, don't let them. You see a woman fighting against leather straps. Her eyes are wide, staring at the ceiling. She is humming. A low, broken tune. A nurse rushes over and places a cloth over her mouth. The nurse hisses, "Do not summon it. Summon it." The shift to supernatural thinking is complete. The dancing is no longer a disease. It's an entity. A demon that rides on sound waves. A mainstream historical fact. The council actually ordered that loose women and gamblers be expelled from the city. They rounded up sex workers and dice players and marched them out the gates. It was a desperate attempt to purify the city's spiritual atmosphere. You can see the wagons leaving now, loaded with confused, angry people who have absolutely nothing to do with the dancing but are being punished for it anyway. It's a witch hunt without the witches, you mutter to yourself. Find a spot on the city wall to sit and watch the exodus. The sun is still hot, but the dog days are waning. The air feels a little different. Less oppressive, maybe just resigned. Below you, in the shadow of the wall, you see a clandestine meeting. A group of young people. They are whispering. One of them pulls out a small drum. Put that away. Another hisses. You want us all arrested? We need to play. The drummer whispers back. Just a little, to prove we can stop. It's a rebellious impulse. The band has made music illicit and therefore tempting, but fear wins out. The drum goes back in the bag. The silence holds. Back in the square, the dismantling has begun. The carpenters are back. The same men who built the stage are now tearing it down. The sound of crowbars prying up planks echoes through the quiet city. Screech, crack, it sounds like bones breaking. You watch as a plank comes loose. The dark stains on the wood are exposed to the light one last time before being tossed onto a pile for burning. The city is erasing the evidence. They want to forget the stage ever happened. They want to pretend they didn't build a torture device in the middle of the market. Burn it all, a councilman orders, watching from a safe distance. Purify the square with fire. They light the bonfire right there. The wood, seasoned with sweat and blood, smokes heavily. The smell is awful. It's a funeral pyre for the idea of secular medicine. The smoke rises up, black and greasy, staining the pristine walls of the cathedral. You realize that this band marks the end of the enlightened phase of the crisis. The doctors had their chance. They failed. Now, the city is retreating into the safety of medieval dogma. If you can't cure it, ban it. If you can't explain it, condemn it. As the sun sets, the silence in the city becomes oppressive. You miss the noise, not the screaming, but the life. A city without music feels dead. It feels like a tomb. You walk through the empty streets. You hear footsteps behind you. You turn. A man is walking quickly, head down. He is counting his steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. He is terrified of losing control. The psychological scar on the city is deep. Everyone is hyper-aware of their own bodies. Is my heart beating too fast? Is my leg twitching? You stop by the river. The water flows silently. You wonder how long the ban will last. A week? A month? Till St. Vitus is appeased? The irony is that by banning the beat, they have acknowledged its power. They have elevated St. Vitus to a god of terror. The silence is a form of worship, a fearful reverence paid to the entity that stole their children's feet. You see a small boat drifting down the river. It's carrying a few of the expelled sinners. They are leaving Strasbourg, probably for good. One of them, a woman in a red dress, looks back at the city. She doesn't look sad. She looks relieved. She is escaping the city of silence. You turn back toward the center. The bonfire in the square is dying down to embers. The stage is gone. The ground is bare again, just dirt and cobblestones. But you can still see the rectangular outline where the grass has been killed by the platform. The magistrates have one more card to play. The ban is just a holding action. The real solution, the final solution, is coming tomorrow. They have realized that if the problem is spiritual, the cure must be a pilgrimage. They are going to outsource the cure. They are preparing wagons. Not for garbage, not for timber, but for the dancers. They are going to ship them away to the shrine, to the source. As you walk back to your inn, walking carefully, stepping softly so as not to make a rhythmic sound, you realize that the city has surrendered. The dancing plague is won. It has forced the authorities to dismantle their laws, their logic, and their pride. Strasbourg is a defeated city, cowering in the quiet, waiting for the saints to take over where the scientists failed. The sun hasn't even cleared the horizon yet, but the city is awake. You are standing by the western gate of Strasbourg, the air cool and damp with morning mist. It's a welcome change from the oppressive heat of the last few weeks, but the mood is anything but cheerful. It feels like an evacuation. 3 large wagons are waiting. These are heavy farm wagons, usually used for hauling hay or beer barrels. Today they are lined with straw. The horses look sleepy, their breath puffing white in the chill air. You watch as the passengers arrive. They are the survivors, the chronically dancing. The ones who didn't die on the stage and didn't recover when the music stopped. They are being led out of the hospital, supported by guards and family members. They look like ghosts. Their eyes are sunken, their skin pale and waxy. Some are still twitching, their hands trembling, their feet shuffling a phantom rhythm against the cobblestones. But look closely at their feet. They aren't wearing the bloody rags or the worn-out leather scraps they had yesterday. They are wearing new shoes. Red shoes. It's one of those details that sounds like a Grimm's fairy tale, but it's a documented historical fact. The city council, in their final pivot from science to religion, ordered red shoes for the afflicted. Why red? Historians still argue whether it was to symbolize the fire of the sickness, honor the martyrs, or simply to make the dancers easily identifiable if they tried to run away. Maybe they thought St. Vitus liked the color red. It's a bizarre, vibrant splash of color in an otherwise gray morning. Up you go, a driver says gently, lifting a woman into the back of the wagon. She doesn't resist. She sits in the straw, staring at her new red shoes, running a finger over the smooth leather. She looks confused, like a child who has been given a present after being punished. You climb up onto the side of the lead wagon. You're coming along for the ride. We are going on a pilgrimage. Destination is Severner-Zabern, as the locals call it, a town about 30 kilometers away, nestled in the foothills of the Vastas Mountains. There, in a cool, dark grotto, lies the shrine of St. Vitus. If the doctors couldn't sweat the demon out, the musicians couldn't play it out, the council is betting that the saint himself can scare it out. The driver cracks his whip knot at the horses just in the air, and the wheels begin to turn. Creak, rumble. The convoy moves out. Passing under the stone arch of the gate, the guards wave them through. There is a sense of good riddance in their wave. They are shipping the problem out of their jurisdiction. The journey is slow. The roads of 1518 are basically just suggestion trails made of mud and ruts. You bounce along, your teeth rattling. Every bump sends a groan through the passengers in the back. But strangely, the movement of the wagon seems to soothe them. Vibration of the wheels replaces the need for them to vibrate themselves. They are being moved so they don't have to move. Look out at the countryside. It's beautiful. It's green fields, dense forests, vineyards climbing the slopes. It's a stark contrast to the filth and noise of the city square. The air smells of pine and damp earth. Take a deep breath. Feels like you're escaping a quarantine zone. You sit next to a man who is clutching a small wooden cross. He's one of the dancers you saw on the stage, the one who kept spinning. He looks lucid now, but terrified. Are we going to die? He whispers to you, no, you say, trying to sound confident. You're going to be cured. St. Vitus is waiting. He nods, gripping the cross tighter. I didn't mean to offend him, he says. I felt the twitch and then I couldn't stop. This is the tragedy of the medieval mind. He thinks he committed a crime. He thinks his neurology is a sin. The guilt must be as heavy as the exhaustion. The journey takes hours. The sun climbs higher, but here in the hills the air stays cooler. You enter the forest. The trees close in overhead, creating a tunnel of green shadow. It feels mystical. You are leaving the realm of man and entering the realm of spirits. Finally, the wagons pull up to a steep path. Horses can't go any further. Everyone out, the driver calls. We walk from here. This is the final test. The pilgrimage requires effort. You hop down and help the man with the cross. His legs are weak, wasted away by weeks of exertion, but he stands. He looks at the path winding up the mountain. It leads to a cave, the shrine of St. Vitus. It's not a grand cathedral. It's a grotto, a cave in the rock face that has been converted into a chapel. It is damp, dark, and smells of beeswax and ancient stone. As you approach, you see the red shoes of the pilgrims flashing against the gray rock. It looks like a procession of cardinals or blood drops moving uphill. Priests are waiting at the entrance. They aren't the terrified city priests who scribbled notes about demons. These are the shrine keepers. They look calm. They've seen this before. They deal with the desperate every day. "Welcome, children," a priest says, his voice echoing off the rock walls. "Leave your burden here. You follow them inside." The temperature drops 20 degrees instantly. It's shocking. After the heat of the dog days, this cave feels like a refrigerator. The coolness wraps around you. You can see the dancers physically relax. Their overheated blood is finally cooling down, not because of leeches, but because of thermodynamics. The interior is lit by hundreds of candles. Flickering light dances on the wet walls. In the center stands a wooden statue of Saint Vitus. He looks young, holding a palm branch, looking down with a vague, benevolent expression. The ritual begins. It's simple. There is no stage, no drum, no screaming. The dancers are led around the altar. They're told to walk in a circle, a controlled, slow, purposeful circle. It mimics the dance that trapped them, but it reclaims the movement. They are taking ownership of the circle. You watch as the woman from the wagon approaches the altar. She is shaking. She kneels. A priest hands her a small offering, a penny and a small loaf of bread. "Offer this to the saint," he instructs, "and ask for peace." She places the penny on the stone. She closes her eyes. "Please," she whispers, "make it stop." And here's the strange, beautiful, frustrating thing about the human brain. It works. You see her shoulders drop. You see the tension leave her jaw. She opens her eyes, and they are clear. The twitching in her hand stops. She stands up, and she doesn't stumble. She walks back to the group, not dancing, just walking. Was it a miracle? A mainstream historical fact is that incubating at a shrine was a common cure for all sorts of ailments. But modern psychologists would call this a powerful placebo effect. She believed the saint caused it, so only the saint could end it. The ritual provided a psychological off-switch that the doctors couldn't access. The red shoes, the journey, the caveat was all theater, but it was theater that spoke the language of her subconscious. You lean against the damp wall of the cave, watching them one by one. The man with the cross, the young boy, the grandmother. They circle the altar. They leave their offerings. They find their stillness. It's quiet. The only sound is the shuffling of the red shoes on the stone floor and the soft murmuring of prayers. It's the antithesis of the noise in the square. It's ASMR for the soul. However, historians still argue whether the pilgrimage was the true cure or if the disease had simply run its course. Most epidemics have a natural bell curve. They spike and then they fade. Maybe the chemicals in their brains had finally depleted. Maybe the Red Shoes pilgrimage was just perfectly timed to coincide with the natural burnout of the hysteria. But looking at their faces, you know that for them, it's the saint. They are crying now, tears of pain but tears of relief. They are hugging each other. The nightmare is over. You notice something else near the altar. A pile of discarded objects, crutches, bandages, and shoes. Old torn shoes left by previous pilgrims. It's a museum of suffering. The new red shoes will stay on their feet, a badge of their survival, but the old pain is left here in the dark. The priest sprinkles holy water on them. It's cool, it feels cleansing. Go in peace, he says. The saint is satisfied. You walk back out into the sunlight. It feels different now. The sun isn't an enemy anymore. It's just the sun. The forest is just a forest. The world has returned to its normal proportions. The walk down the hill is lighter. The dancers are chatting. Weakly, yes, but they are talking. "I'm hungry," the boy says. "Me too," his mother replies. Hunger. A normal, healthy urge. Not the urge to dance, but the urge to eat. It's the best thing you've heard in weeks. Climb back into the wagon for the return trip. The mood has shifted completely. It's not a funeral procession anymore. It's a school bus coming back from a field trip. They are exhausted, battered, and traumatized, but they are still. As the wagons rumble back toward Strasbourg, you look at the red shoes again. They are scuffed now, dusted with the dirt of the holy mountain. They are the only bright things in the wagon. You wonder what will happen when they get back. Will they be welcomed? Will they be shunned? They are the marked ones now. They are the people who danced with the saint. In a superstitious age that makes them special, but also dangerous. They have touched the live wire of the divine and survived. The city walls appear in the distance. The gates are open. The guards watch the wagons approach. You see a guard lean forward, squinting. He sees the stillness in the wagon. He sees the lack of twitching. He relaxes. They're back. A shout goes up. And they are still. The news spreads faster than the plague did. People come out of their houses. They don't cheer. That would be too loud, too rhythmic, but they smile. They wave. You jump down from the wagon as it enters the square. The burned spot where the stage used to be is still there, a black scar on the cobblestones, but the fear is gone. The atmosphere of panic has evaporated, replaced by a collective exhale. You watch the woman in the red shoes step down. Her husband runs to meet her. He doesn't say anything. He just holds her. She buries her face in his shoulder. She is standing perfectly still. It's over, or at least the acute phase is over. The dancing plague of 1518 is broken. The fever is past. You walk over to the fountain and dip your hands in. The water is cool. You splash your face, washing off the dust of the road. You look at your reflection. You look tired too. It's been a long journey. But as you dry your hands, you hear a faint sound. A rhythmic tap-tap. Your heart skips a beat. You freeze. Turn around slowly, terrified that it's starting again. It's just a carpenter fixing a loose shutter on a window. Tap, tap, tap. Just a hammer. Just a job. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding. It's just a hammer. But you know that for the rest of your life, and for the rest of the lives of everyone in this city, a rhythmic tapping sound will never be just a sound again. It will always be a reminder of the time the city lost control. The sun sets behind the cathedral spire. The red shoes are walking home, one step at a time, leaving no rhythm behind them, only footprints. The heat finally breaks. It doesn't happen all at once, but slowly. The oppressive humidity of the dog days gives way to the crisp, golden light of autumn, and eventually the biting chill of an Alsatian winter. You are walking through the Rosmarkt again, but now your boots crunch on fresh snow. The square is white and pristine. The black scar where the bonfire burned the infected wood is gone, buried under a foot of powder. The air is sharp and clean. It freezes the moisture in your nose, a stark contrast to the thick, sweating atmosphere of July. Strasbourg has returned to itself. The city is a survivor. It has weathered floods, sieges, and famines, and now it has weathered the choreography of the damned. But it's different now. You can feel it. The city is like a man who has suffered a public breakdown and is now trying to go back to work as if nothing happened. Everyone is polite, everyone is busy, but nobody talks about the summer. You enter a tavern, a different one this time, one that has dared to reopen its shutters. It's warm inside. The fire is roaring. There is music, but it's soft. A lute player sits in the corner, strumming gently. No drums. Definitely no bagpipes. The council lifted the band quietly once the frost set in, figuring that the cold weather would naturally discourage any impromptu street raves. You sit near the fire, thawing your hands. The patrons are drinking mulled wine. They are talking about the wheat harvest, which was better this year, thank God, and the price of timber. Normal, boring, wonderful topics. But look over there in the corner. There's a woman sitting with her husband. She looks older than she did in July. Her face is lined and she moves stiffly, rubbing her knees as if they ache in the cold. It's Frau Trofia. She survived. She went to the shrine. She wore the red shoes, and she came back. She is a celebrity of the worst kind. People glance at her, then quickly look away. She is the patient zero of a nightmare. History doesn't record exactly what happened to her after the plague, but in a small city like this, she would forever be that woman. The woman who started it. You wonder if she remembers the dance? Does she dream of the rhythm? Or is it a blank spot in her memory? A fugue state that stole a week of her life? A mainstream historical fact is that many of the dancers did survive. While the death toll was high-defyingly high, the pilgrimage to Severn worked for the majority. They returned to their trades. The baker is baking again. The tanner is tanning. But you notice they don't run. They don't skip. They walk with a deliberate, heavy tread. You leave the tavern and head toward the cathedral. The massive spire is dusted with snow, looking like pink sugar. Inside, the scribes are busy. History is being written. You peer over the shoulder of a chronicler. He is writing in a heavy ledger. He pauses, dips his quill, and writes, "In the year 1518, a strange sickness fell upon the people." He hesitates. How does he describe it? Was it a plague? A curse? A riot? This is where the debate begins. We're witnessing the birth of a mystery that will puzzle people for 500 years. The people of 1518 are desperate to categorize it, to put it in a box so they can put the lid on it. A few years from now, in 1526, a man named Paracelsus will come to this city. He's a famous alchemist and physician, man with an ego the size of the Holy Roman Empire and a haircut that looks like a bowl of soup. He will investigate the event. It's the one who will give it the name Chorea Lasciva, lascivious dance. He'll blame it on the women, of course, claiming they started dancing to annoy their husbands and then couldn't stop. It's a classic misogynistic take. But it's also the first time someone suggests the cause was psychological, not supernatural. But right now, in the winter of 1518, the theories are wilder. It was the rye, a monk whispers to you, seeing you looking at the book. The bread was bad. He's talking about ergotism or St. Anthony's fire. It's a fungus that grows on damp rye. It contains lysergic acid, essentially raw LSD. It causes convulsions and hallucinations. It's a solid theory. But you shake your head. Ergotism usually causes gangrene. Your limbs turn black and fall off. It doesn't usually give you the stamina of an Olympic marathon runner for 6 days straight. Plus, why did the cure at the shrine work if it was poisoning? Did St. Vitus detox their livers? No, a merchant interrupts, leaning in. It was a heretic sect who were dancing to defy the church. You look at him skeptically. You saw those faces on the stage. There was no defiance there, only misery. If that was a cult, it had the worst recruitment brochure in history. Join us. Bleed from your feet and die of heart failure. The truth is likely far more tragic. You walk back out into the snow, looking at the timber-framed houses. You think about the poverty, the famine, the syphilis, the constant threat of doom. Historians still argue whether the dancing plague was the result of mass psychogenic illness caused by extreme stress. The human brain is a pressure cooker. If you seal the lid tight with fear and heat it up with misery, eventually the valve blows. And in 1518, the steam came out in the form of a dance. It's the broken reality theory. When life becomes too unbearable, the mind simply refuses to participate in reality anymore. It creates a new reality where the only rule is keep moving. You walk to the riverbank. The Ill River is flowing, dark and sluggish, carrying chunks of ice. City walls loom above you. You realize that Strasbourg has learned a hard lesson. They tried to fix a problem of the mind with carpenters and musicians. They tried to treat the soul with infrastructure, and they failed. The silence that lies over the city now is a humble silence. It is an admission that there are things in the human experience that the Council of 21 cannot legislate. You see a group of children playing in the snow near the bridge. One of them slips on the ice and does a little comical shuffle to stay upright. Hop, hop, slide. You flinch. The mother nearby flinches too. She snaps at the child. Walk properly. None of that. The trauma is generational. It will take years for this city to trust a beat again. The red shoes have been put away in chests and attics, hidden like shameful secrets. But they are there, waiting. The year 1518 is drawing to a close. The chroniclers will close their books. The snow will melt. Life will go on. But the ghost of the rhythm remains. It's in the folklore now. It will become a legend, then a fairy tale, then a medical footnote. You turn your back on the river and look at the city one last time. It looks peaceful under the snow. The nightmare is over. The stage is ash. The music is faded. But as you stand there in the quiet winter twilight, you tap your toe inside your boot. Just once, just to check. You have control. You can stop, can't you? The question hangs in the cold air unanswered. You pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders and walk away, careful to keep your steps irregular. Careful not to let a pattern form. Because if there's one thing you have learned in Strasbourg, it's that the line between a dance and a disease is much thinner than you think. And once the music starts, it is very, very hard to leave the floor.